Welcome back to the Cairns Criteriums. This is actually not a series. This is a Cup on Wheels, so just a one-day series. The stats are at the bottom there. Average 37k an hour. So it actually is one of the slower of the races. But I'll explain why this race actually was one of the more difficult ones. There was a headwind that came on this first corner here. So on this straight, there's a huge headwind. And we're actually going to stay on board for the first lap because I find this really interesting. I think they knew I was one of the stronger guys in the field, so they wanted me to start chasing this guy who literally on the first lap decided to push. I became patient, and the few people to look out for is this guy number 40. He's a mountain biker from the small chats that we've had, and this is his first official crit actually. But if you guys know, mountain bikers, they got those strong legs, surgy strengths, and they're not afraid to eat wind essentially. But if you look here, there's already a breakaway forming, so we have 3 people that are bridged up to the front, and then you'll see another one, and then another one, and that guy who just passed in the blue jersey, his name's Mark Proctor. He was in the Cairns Criterium series. So to put this into perspective, he's a strong rider, and you want to make sure that you're in his peloton, okay? I'm not in his group right now, and I've found myself in one of the most unenvious positions. I'm literally in a group filled with the lesser of the experienced riders, and look at the gap. Look at the gap between the 2 riders in front of me and the group in front. So in the first lap, we've literally become dropped. And if you guys have seen my previous videos, I'm not really a big endurance cyclist. I'm a sprinter, so what I like to do is I stay in the group, I try and save as much energy as I can, and in the last couple laps I'll hammer it out, and it's just so frustrating because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how much energy did I really expend unnecessarily in the first lap? I mean, that was the first lap. So we're just gonna jump forward and see what happens. So now we're on lap, I think 10, and we're almost hitting the halfway mark, and if you can't tell, but this group is going really slow. Everyone's kind of dragging along each other. The guy in blue is still pulling this group. Look, but you have Jack on the right here, who wasn't even pedaling for a couple seconds there. So this is what I mean by a slow race. So we averaged 37k an hour. We weren't going particularly smooth. It would just be surges of speed. Suddenly we would pick up 30, 40, 50k an hour, and then all of a sudden everyone would decide to slow down. And in my opinion, it's actually more difficult to race this way because you end up losing momentum. You lose the momentum and the speed you go into the corners. You're braking unnecessarily because people slow down and you don't want to hit their wheel or their bike, and you don't want to risk a crash. But then the moment they slow down, they start speeding up all of a sudden. Like, look at this part. They're suddenly increasing the pace. And like I said before, this is against a headwind, so we're slowing down on the tailwinds and then surging up on these insane headwinds, which, may I say, is the most ineffective and inefficient way of racing. And so we've caught up to the group now, but what I didn't show you guys was there was actually a breakaway at the very beginning with 2 people, and we didn't catch up to them until the intermediate sprint. So now I've decided to move up. This is the intermediate sprint lap. Everybody is still kind of looking at each other, and at this point I'm a bit frustrated, to be honest. Think about what just happened. At the start of the race, I was wasting energy. Then there was a breakaway and nobody wanted to chase. And then now I found myself, you guys hear that whistle, meaning it's the intermediate lap. I found myself at the front of the pack at the intermediate lap, which is good and bad. Because if you're in the front, it means you don't have to jockey for position. But it also means you're eating wind, okay? And like I said, 3rd to 5th position is my ideal position. I know I can outsprint these guys with a couple bike lengths in front. And look, I've slowed down so much. I'm looking around. If you guys can't tell, I'm literally slowing down. I'm looking around my left and right, seeing if there's going to be any attacks, seeing if anybody wants to take the wheel in front of me. And at this point, I think I realized that no one was going to do anything for me. They were gonna let me out to dry. They wanted me to eat as much wind as possible. So I sat in the front. I tried to be as patient as possible. Most people, if they found myself or themselves in this situation, they would just expend a ton of energy. If anything, that just means that you're pulling other people to the final. So what you want to do is stay calm. And as I turned this corner, I realized that everyone was a bit sleepy because they were just waiting for me to attack. So I decided to slowly increase the pace here, just enough so that people can't tell. But when they do realize, they'll know that they're only a couple bike lengths. Now they're a couple bike lengths away. So I've turned this corner, I look around, I see that they're on my wheel, but they're not contesting for this sprint, so I go for it. I get out of the saddle, I push a little bit more, and so that was actually Mark. He just kind of gave me like a thumbs up, like nice on the intermediate sprint, but then we got to keep going. And I was like, oh man, keep going. And obviously you can't tell because I'm still trying to work out the power meter on this thing. But I was genuinely destroyed. I wanted to do a breakaway with him, but I was so tired, and I just expended so much energy on just half a lap. It's difficult to explain. You know, you keep these speeds up in a group for so long, and then you do a little sprint and suddenly you're just completely dead. And there goes Jack. He looks at me and smiles, because at the beginning of the race we were talking about the most annoying stuff to do in a race, and what we concluded was if the peloton or the group ever slows down, the best time to attack or counterattack is when the whole group is tired. So obviously he knew I just won the sprint. I got tired, and then he looks at me and sprints past me. So nothing's changed so far. You just saw that guy hold up a sign that says 2 laps to go. So we're just gonna follow in on these 2 laps. So right in front of me, number 41, I think it's Darren. He's one of the stronger riders, and I think he did get money at the end of this race. He got a couple preems as well. And he and I were just chatting throughout the race, but he wanted to go for a breakaway. I didn't have the energy to go with him, and now we're at the front of the pack. So now we understand where my position is. I'm second on the big pack together. No one is away from the peloton at the moment. And he looks to his left here, he veers off to the right, and he knows with 1.5 laps to go, I'm his biggest competitor. So he looks at me, he comes over and he grabs my jersey and he says, in a jokingly way obviously, and he says, Matt, you gotta get in the wind. And then obviously we have a little chat, and at this point I was like, I know it's a joke, but also I'm kind of screwed here. But then here comes Jack, and I think he made a little mistake here because he was actually leading out his teammate, and his teammate was on his wheel, but I kind of snuck into his wheel. So now I'm sandwiched between him and his teammate. I think he told me later that he didn't realize this was the second last lap. He thought it was like the third last lap, so he was he wanted to take the wheel in the front, but he didn't realize that he was actually dragging me to the finish. So now I'm in an even better position. So Darren has veered off. He wanted me to get in the wind. And then I see Jack. I take Jack's wheel. That's the final bell lap. And we're just going to follow in on the step-by-step of what I do here. Because at this point, we're obviously going a lot faster. There goes a counterattack by Steven. And I'm thinking, should I follow Steven's wheel? No, I shouldn't follow Steven's wheel because he's helping Jack. So these two are working together. wow, like Jack is out of the saddle. He's pushing this just to prove how much faster we've like picked up the pace. I'm in third wheel now. Okay. And this is a really interesting thing because I realized that Jack was leaving a gap. So the guy in front of me is leaving a gap to his teammate in front of him. He gives him a little wave just there, telling him that, hey, I'm tired, you should go for it. And I see this bridge gapping, and so Steven's going for it, but he's also gassed. So I bridge the gap. I'm wondering if maybe Steven can pull me. Then Steven sits up because he's tired, and I attack early. Super early. I mean, this is like 2 corners before the actual sprint. So I'm taking this corner so fast. I'm putting my head down. I'm out of the saddle, but I'm keeping my head down. I don't even look back because I know I have a good chance of winning this race. I only have 1 more corner to go, and I take this corner super sketchy. I actually almost crashed here because there was a little pothole, but I keep going. I look down, I see my speed. I'm hitting 54k an hour, and then I hitch it. I'm like, come on, here we go. I'm almost at the end. And oh my goodness, I get that win. So this is my 2nd win ever in adult racing. Woo!
Woo! He almost got me.
So I'd just like to say thank you to the guys for being so respectful in the race and always giving me a challenge, making me eat some wind, and obviously one of the most fun races I've ever had. If you guys don't know where this race is, it's in Bungalow in Cairns, and I'll probably just leave a link in the description if you guys want to check out some of the information if you guys want to race as well. And thanks for watching.
I turn around and I see your like, yellow jersey. I was like, holy shit.